It's a new year and a new chance for you to make a fresh start with your compliance. For the next 31 days on the FCPA Compliance Report, we're going to be bringing you a daily tip, strategy, or idea that you can use to improve your program. Here's your host, Tom Fox, the Compliance Evangelist.
This month's sponsor of 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance Program is Affiliated Monitors. Founded in 2004, Affiliated Monitors provides professional, independent integrity monitoring and ethics and compliance assessments nationally and internationally and across almost all industries. With its knowledge of effective ethics and compliance programs and cultures, Affiliated Monitors is respected for its work as the corporate monitor on matters ranging from multinational corporations to small and mid-sized companies and even individuals. Having served in over 750 monitorships, no one has more experience as an independent monitor than the team at Affiliated Monitors. For more information on how an independent monitor can help improve your company's ethics and compliance program, visit this month's sponsor, Affiliated Monitors, at www.affiliatedmonitors.com.
Today I'm joined by Vin DeCiani, founder at Affiliated Monitors. Vin, I wanted to visit with you about some of the data and data analytics that you think are useful in the management of third parties.
Great, a great topic, Tom, and very timely, as you know.
So what do you look for? What do you use? Are there any key points you use? Are there any key pieces of data? Is every situation unique, or are there some general guidance you could give us?
Sure. Oftentimes, as you know, we do assessments of companies' third-party risk assessment, due diligence, and relationships. And a couple of things that I think are very important for companies to consider. One is to have a proactive risk assessment and third-party management process. And that can include a couple of different things. One is just doing your due diligence on the companies that you're working with. And then two is collecting that data in a centralized system or form. A lot of companies that we're working with now are using a database. And that database is a place for storage of information about the third parties that they're working with. It has to be thought about in terms of the questionnaire and how you do your due diligence, but storing the information in one location, a database, makes it more efficient, makes it reduces the redundancy of having lots of departments having the same information or dealing with the same company. You have one set of data. And I'll tell you, the thing that I think benefits compliance programs when they have a good third-party due diligence system is it does operationalize the third-party system by having this data collected, not necessarily by compliance, but maybe it's the finance or the payables or the receivables department that can do this kind of work. So it gets used across all of the departments within the company, which is a very important process. You and I have talked about the fact that too often times compliance is siloed, right? And it really, the way we look at it, it really needs to run across the entire company. This is the way of doing that. You're using if you will, the resources and assets that an accounts receivable or accounts payable department or finance department is using, and you're using it to your advantage because they can do the due diligence, store the data. You can clean up old data. You can clean up old accounts. The returns are, dramatic. So I'm going to stop there and see if you want to be more specific.
That's really a key insight, Vin, that simply the data collection can move you towards a more operationalized compliance program because it's the people who are the front lines using the data are managing the risk from their perspective. And you listed finance, you listed accounts payable, you listed HR, IT, and perhaps some others. And that really seems to be a key component that you're really getting not simply people to do their jobs, but in doing their jobs, it makes a company more compliant.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, it's remarkable, the first time you do it, as you know, that's going to be the biggest expense because you have to dedicate time and resources to be able to do the assessment and collect the data. Once you've done that, then going forward to maintain it, it's a lot easier because you're going to do it routinely, right? A new third-party vendor is coming in, you're going to do the due diligence. You're going to collect the data about them, and you're going to store them if they become an approved vendor or what have you. So that's a very good thing. The other thing that I think remains, key is you're eliminating a lot of risk that companies have in dealing with third parties. We've worked with companies who have been paying vendors for years. They didn't know it. Compliance didn't know it. When they did this kind of assessment, they found out that some of the vendors were their employees that was selling nothing to the company and getting paid. I mean, shocking, but that really was a cleanup, or you're dealing with vendors who have been on the barred list and you didn't check them, because they've been a vendor for 35 years. So, reducing the risk in using this kind of process is crucial. So I hope I addressed your questions, and I want to give you a couple of takeaways unless you have any more questions.
If you could give us 3 key takeaways, Vin.
Yeah, so I think one is for a company that is always trying to assess its own effectiveness of its compliance program, the rewards here are going to be significant, and it goes to, you're going to reduce the risk of a fraud, of dealing with a bad vendor, of getting involved in a contract, a joint venture, whatever, by having those systems in place. So there's going to be a cost savings there. Number 2, you're going to have more reliable information and data about your third parties, your suppliers, your vendors, your independent contractors. Having that information is going to be a crucial piece when you want to enter into a new contract, when you want to go out for a procurement on a particular item that you're looking for. So I think that that's a very important piece. The other thing I mentioned, and it really is an important takeaway, is operationalizing this third party process really does expand compliance's reach across the company and makes it seamless, right? This is a third-party, due diligence piece that compliance is looking at that really is, being done and or utilized across the company. I hope that's helpful.
And this has been a great exploration of a topic that is always on the minds of a compliance practitioner. I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thanks, Tom.
If I could ask you to do so, would you pass on to at least one person this podcast series on the nuts and bolts of compliance, as I'm trying to expand my audience base for 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance Program? I hope you'll join me again tomorrow, where I take up another topic in innovation in compliance. Thanks again for listening. 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance Program is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.